Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy Podcast.
Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy Evans, a strong leg, end over end. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep in the end zone. Up the middle of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. He's at the 40. He's at 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 45, 40, 50, 10, 5, touchdown. Just like last year, the same story. Roll out.
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Heisman Trophy Podcast. We are now within 2 weeks of ballots going out to the 928 Heisman Trophy electors across the country. And accordingly, some of the top Heisman candidates are making their way to the Heisman Trophy Podcast. Last week, it was Julian Sayin of Ohio State. This week, Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, considered by many to be the front runner. But there's a lot of football to be played, some really exciting matchups still to come. Remember that the Heisman Trophy Trust will invite 4 players to be Heisman Trophy finalists. And it seems to me like maybe 2 of the spots are spoken for and the other 2 are kind of up in the air. We're starting to see some serious late season heroics going on amongst the Heisman Trophy candidates. How about Marcel Reed of Texas A&M? Down 30-3 at the half to South Carolina. 2 interceptions at the half. He comes back and just explodes against the Gamecocks and leads the Aggies to a 31-30 come-from-behind victory. That is the kind of stuff that Heisman trophies are made of. You got Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King, who was also on the show a few weeks back, and he's just on a tear right now. He's averaging 361 yards passing over the last 3 games, now leading the nation in total offense per game. Another Heisman Trophy Podcast alum, Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, he's also been on a tear of late. And then there's Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, who will be on the show next week. And all these guys and more are great players and have a chance to be in New York for that Heisman Trophy ceremony. One thing I've noticed about this season is that the numbers are down. And by numbers, I mean the offensive production of the various Heisman candidates. And I don't mean they're down compared to what they did last season. I'm saying they're down compared to what previous year's Heisman candidates produced. And I'm always trying to be on the lookout for the latest trends in college football, and it seems to me like offensive production in general in college football has plateaued. You might even say it's starting to go down. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, may I present to you Exhibit A for my hypothesis. The current leader in team total offense per game is Georgia Tech at a mere 496.7 yards per game. And you might say, okay, Chris, what's the big deal? That seems like a lot of yards. But it's actually not a lot of yards, at least not historically. In fact, the last team to lead the nation in total offense per game with fewer than 500 yards per game was Oklahoma in 1987. That's almost 40 years ago, folks. I don't think defenses just suddenly got better. I do think the incentives have changed for coaches. Why push the envelope on offense when you can play in a phone booth and still make the playoffs?
This is Archie Griffin, 1974, 1975's Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman Podcast.
The Heisman is handed out every December, but the history of the trophy lives year-round at Heisman.com. Home to the most iconic trophy in sports, Heisman.com tells the story of all 90 of our winners and features news, bios, and statistics on all your favorite Heisman heroes. Heisman.com also highlights our Heisman humanitarians, the many charities supported by the Heisman Trust, and so much more. Make Heisman.com your first stop for all things Heisman.
Before we get to Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, I want to go through his background a bit. What an amazing story for this young man. Started out as a 2-star recruit over at Christopher Columbus High in Miami. It was only offered one Power 4 scholarship. That was Cal, offered him a scholarship back in the class of 2022. He had originally committed to Yale, and then Cal came calling, so he went out to the Pac-12, playing for Justin Wilcox, and that's when he really started to develop. You know, he's a great prospect. He's 6'5", 225 pounds, got that prototypical size. Also a really good athlete. So far this season, second in the nation in passing efficiency at 184.83, 2,641 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, 73% completion. Also has 216 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. You know, typically we have guys on the show and maybe our interview lasts 10, 12, 15 minutes. And I had every intention of doing the same with Fernando, but we just kept talking and All of a sudden, it was 45 minutes later. So big thanks to the folks over at Indiana for letting me monopolize Fernando's time on a bye-week Monday. The Indiana Hoosiers are 11-0 for the first time in school history and have one more regular season game to go against Purdue a couple Saturdays from now. Should the Hoosiers beat the Boilermakers, they will move on to their first ever Big Ten title game matchup and then likely go onward from there to a second straight appearance in the college football playoff. One of the main reasons for this success has been the play of Hoosiers quarterback Fernando Mendoza, the redshirt junior who has 35 combined touchdowns this year and who joins us this week on the Heisman Trophy Podcast. Welcome, Fernando.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Hudson, and really appreciate everybody on the Heisman Podcast for having me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Fernando, congrats on a fantastic season thus far. Your development over these past few seasons and throughout this year has been really fun to watch. Indiana has had a magical season. I want to know what it's like to experience all this from where you're standing in the center of the storm, so to speak. Has it just been a blur for you?
Yeah, especially on the outside, it seems like a total blur, and it's such a great opportunity that we're 11-0, and we have an opportunity next week to go 1-0 again to make us 12-0. But what's even more special about this opportunity is the people that we're doing it with. The coaches, the locker room, the support staff, we're all so intertwined, and we get along so well that it makes it even more magical to have not only have a great season, but to do it with great people makes it more just so much more special for myself and my teammates.
Yeah, I can imagine. You guys have really experienced the full gamut this year, from the complete dominance over Illinois to the methodical dismantling of Oregon on the road to the late game dramatics against Penn State. When you look back on these first 11 games, what moment or moments stick with you the most?
Yeah, I would say the three moments you brought up, the Illinois game was huge. Iowa, being from Miami and then playing in the Pac-12 and ACC, I wasn't aware of how loud Iowa got, and that stadium was rocking. They had great fans, such a great tradition, waving to the children, and they have a great defense and great team overall. So that was a nail biter as well. We won on the last drive there.
Yeah.
Oregon was great. They're the number 3 team in the nation at the time, and they are our top team in the nation. And that was great to see the resilience from our offense to bounce back. And Penn State, we were on upset alert there for a little bit, and we were able to pull it off. And I think that's what all good teams and great teams have, is that resilience and the ability to, and it's not always going to go as planned, but the ability to get back on track, trust each other, and execute at a high level.
Yeah, that late touchdown pass to Omar Cooper to beat Penn State, people are still talking about it. I think it's going to be remembered in Bloomington for a long time. Can you walk me through what happened on that pass to Omar Cooper?
Yeah. On my account, I think that's one of the best catches of all time in college football history, and for sure the best catch of this year in college football. And I actually ordered a T-shirt. I'm waiting on my T-shirt so I can wear it everywhere, and it says "The Catch." So I could be proud that I know the guy who caught that ball. And Omar is such a great guy, and to see him, battle and work his butt off the entire offseason and start having such a fantastic season, and what a great catch not last weekend, but the weekend before that.
Yeah.
It was so special to see that play. Penn State was giving us their all. They have a great defensive coordinator and Coach Knowles, and he gave us cover zero the past 2 looks, and we knew the third look we were getting cover zero. We wanted to hit the middle of the field, and however, their defender had inside leverage, which is not ideal when you want to go inside and the guy's trying to defend the inside. So, we had a great route by Coop. We had amazing protection from our running backs, tight ends, and offensive linemen, and I was able just to put it up there. And Coop, he's from Indiana, so he has a background in basketball as well. He was able to grab that rebound right near the goalpost, and I don't know how he got his feet in. I was in utter shock. I couldn't even believe it until in the plane. Hit. Wow, he caught that ball.
Yeah,
it was so shocking. I was
going to ask you about that. I saw the replay and I saw his foot that seemed to suspend in midair, like for a second. It was really weird. What was your reaction when you finally had a chance to get a close look at his footwork in the back of the end zone after not seeing it for a while, Yeah.
Coop and all the other receivers in our team never cease to amaze me. They are just so talented, and it makes my job so much easier. And it's such a pleasure as a quarterback to have those guys that, you don't always got to be perfect. You can put it in the radius and they're going to go get it.
Yeah.
And that's such a luxury to have as a quarterback, especially playing the top competition in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And to see Coop make that catch, it's a video game catch. usually when you see the 2 feet, you usually see the first one pop down.
Yeah.
But he's like levitating one and doing the other one, a little bit of Houdini.
There was like an invisible pillow just kind of holding him up there. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, invisible pillow was God, and I know Coop's a big man of God, and so am I. So I mean, it's just so crazy how it all happened.
God was a Hoosier on that play. I'm curious how you approached this year coming over from Cal, having to acclimate to this new setting, new system, new teammates, new coaches. Did you have a method going in that you followed to kind of ease into it, or did you just kind of go with the flow and let things hit you and adjust as it came?
The transfer portal, college football, everything, especially in college sports right now, is so hectic, so crazy. However, my whole thing that my parents instilled in me is always being optimistic and being positive and controlling the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever, in the transfer portal, I went to different schools. So Coach Signetti really sold me on, you're going to be the best Fernando Mendoza here. I can't guarantee the other things, but I can guarantee you I'm going to develop you into the best Fernando Mendoza possible. And throughout my career, whether it was redshirt freshman playing to my redshirt sophomore year to now my redshirt junior year, every single year, what I strive on is improvement. I always strive on having an amazing offseason where I am living in the facility, being able to get better so the next season I can have another breakout year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In my mind, like a breakout year or a vastly improved year than the previous year. And so with that, the help of the great coaching here, teammates, and my little brother, who's also a quarterback, who helped myself get acclimated to the playbook, to the locker room, to the Indiana weather, and all of the above. It's been so special for me, and it's really accelerated and exponentially, helped my process and development. As we've seen that I've developed a lot every year that I played college football.
When you were looking at Indiana, what was it about Indiana and Coach Signetti that was apparent to you that maybe wasn't as apparent looking at other teams?
Yeah, I think they had the whole package as far as they had a lot of guys coming back, and we're a very senior heavy team. So I know this is going to be their best shot. Evidently, Indiana's always going to be a good football team, and we're always going to reload. But I knew that there's a ton of leaders coming back, a lot of captains coming back. We have a great head coach in Coach Signetti, great OC and Coach Shanahan, and we have a fantastic quarterback coach and Coach Whitmer. And with all those three combined, I knew that I can't control the record. I can only control my part. And thank God that we're 11-0.
Yeah.
Just because it's a culmination of so many good people and good schematics and teamwork working together. But I knew that I wanted to be developed, and I wanted to be the best Fernando Mendoza that I could become. And Indiana gave myself the best shot. It wasn't a guarantee, but I was willing to roll the dice, risk it, and give myself the best shot, become the best Fernando Mendoza.
It must have been really cool to have your brother there to not only help acclimate you, but also to kind of give you the inside scoop about everything, to say, because he's not gonna snowball you. He's going to tell you exactly what the deal is, right?
Yeah, in recruiting, there's a lot of snowballing,
Yeah.
and that's the nature of recruiting. It's with all the other schools I visited. I mean, I appreciate my time there and the coaches there. However, my brother, I was able to get the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Although there wasn't much ugly or bad here in Indiana, I was able to get all the facts and all the details that I had to pull a couple of strings to get some at the other schools. And to have him here and then to work with him all off season, to throw with him, he's helped myself so much. I mean, he's helped my technique. He's helped my processing speed. We've worked together. We push each other. And at first, when I was at spring ball, I'm like, wow, this guy, it's like we're practice 10. I'm like, this guy's had better practice than me every single day.
Yeah.
I got to try to get on my high horse. I got to get off my high horse, and I got to, push myself even harder. And so we've pushed each other so hard at this point. I think that we both exponentially grown this season. And to see the quarterback that he's become and the quarterback that he is going to be for the Hoosiers is special to see. And I just can't wait to see him become a better quarterback than myself, because I'm confident that he will be.
There had to be some kind of leap of faith for you too as well, right? You had your pick of a lot of quote unquote, blue blood schools, picks, some elite schools out there. And Indiana had a great year last year, but it was only the 1 year that they did it. So you had to have the faith that this was something that was going to be a normal kind of thing, right? That help bring you along with their growth. Was it a big leap of faith for you, or did you just kind of realize, hey, this is going to keep chugging along?
It was a huge leap of faith. I graduated Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, in 3 years. At that point, I had my degree. I was going under my fourth coaching change, offensive coaching change. Yeah. And at that point, I felt that it was time to make the leap of faith. However, it was so hard for me to make that leap of faith to even enter the portal in the first place. I mean, there was a couple of nights that I was just bawling. I was like, I don't want to leave and stuff like that, just because it's so hard because getting out of your comfort zone is how you grow.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I needed to grow. However, getting out of that comfort zone is so hard. And then when choosing between the blue blood schools, it was like, all right, Indiana's great. They've had a great season, but the other blue blood schools are a lot more historically sound. They're
Yeah.
safer.
Right.
However, I knew that I couldn't control the variables. I know I could control what school I go to, but I can't control, what opponents we're playing. I can't control the strength of schedule. I can't control how the season's going to go. There's so many variables within it. I just want to become the best Fernando Mendoza I can become. If it's on a 12-0 team, that's great. If it's on a 10-2 team, that's great as well. So I just wanted to become the best Fernando Mendoza I could become so I could help my team win as many games as possible.
You're a finance or a business administration major and you're into finance. I guess this would be kind of similar to like you're going for more of a startup vibe versus like you're not going to go work for AT&T or the big tech companies. You're going for this kind of up and coming startup. Is that kind of a similar kind of is it a good analogy to relate to going over to Indiana?
Yeah, that is a fantastic analogy. Funny enough, over on the West Coast, Berkeley and Stanford are two of the biggest universities that have a lot of startup founders. One of my freshman year roommates is a startup founder, and to see that all the startups, to see them blossom and bloom, I mean, it's a big risk.
Yeah.
However, you could go to some of these companies that are going to be well established and more of a corporate structure. However, I knew that the leadership within, I want to say a startup because Indiana still Big Ten school,
Sure.
still had a great year. Probably not as a big corporation as some of the others at that point last season. And now has become, if not, bigger than a lot of those. It was a good leap of faith. However, I saw the leadership, and that's a big thing. A lot of startups. I actually worked for, or did some due diligence for a VC fund, which they invest in startups, called the House Fund in Berkeley, which they invest in all like Berkeley startups.
Sure.
And a big thing of their vetting process and their due diligence within the company to see what companies they're going to invest in and what companies they're going to pass on is the leadership.
Yeah.
Is the leadership. It's going to know the leadership. It's doing workshops with the leaders to see. There's going to be obstacles, there's going to be problems, but to have that direct and correlated leadership in order to steer your ship in the right direction. And that's what I saw in Indiana.
Yeah, you mentioned before having all these different offensive coordinators. What word would you use to describe Indiana's offensive scheme? You had to come in and learn that one really quickly. How would you describe it? And is it an easy scheme to learn?
Yeah, I think that any scheme is as easy as hard as you make it. I think that it's really the level of quarterbacking that you want to perform. And I think Indiana has a very complex scheme. I think they have a very complex scheme, not comparing it to NFL scheme, but comparing it to other college scheme. I think that what makes Indiana's scheme is so special is the detail. It's the attention to detail. It's the fine prints. There's not a lot of gray area in the playbook, which I love. It's a type A personality and a type A quarterback. There's not a lot of gray. So I know that, hey, on my third step, I got to throw it to this landmark. That's the timing for this route. It's not, maybe it'll be this and that. There's direct rules and correlations. I think that's what makes Indiana playbook so special is that you know what you're going to get. And it's really, the details are there and the coaches hold us to all such a high standard of accountability that those details are enforced in every single room. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But those details and the way that the coaches enforce them is what makes Indiana's offense so special.
When you make that kind of change going to a new scheme, is it mostly like the nomenclature that's different? Is it the point of emphasis on where you're attacking on the field? Is it what you're practicing in practice as far as like we're going to run this play 20 times and this play only 3 times, and you kind of know that we're going to be great at this play and just kind of okay at this play? What is like the big difference in that regard?
So I would say football is generally the same. There's a lot of nomenclature. However, in the college world, you got a lot more variables. Yeah. I was in an air raid system. I was also in a more like a run and shoot system as well. We come over here, which Indiana we're multiple here. We do a lot of things. We do RPOs, we do play action, we do drop back, we do great outside zone runs, we do inside zone, we do gap schemes. So we do a lot of everything here. So I would say it's more of a multiple system. But when learning the playbook, it is so important. Like I said before, is to know those details. And when I was able to go up there basically every single day in spring ball, and when we got here in winter, to study with some of the other transfers, to study with my brother, and able to quiz each other on it, it created a sense of unity rather than we're all home and locked up in our room trying to learn the playbook by ourselves. It's, we have Ryan Nowakowski, the tight end. We're quizzing each other. Hey, what's this play? what are the routes on this way? What are the depths?
Mm-hmm.
And, we're like going back and forth, quizzing each other. Or whenever we talk to my brother, hey, how are you seeing this play? This is what it says in the playbook. Do you agree with this? Meaning that, is this how it was in the playbook? Did this evolve throughout the season?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on game plan. And so to have people like that around myself pushing and learning the playbook fun, and because football is fun and I love it.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic experience to not only get adjusted to the nomenclature, which is just a general part of football, but also to really learn the system so I can be confident every single time I step foot on the field.
It seems like you're kind of naturally intellectually curious. Like, it seems like you apply this mentality to football, and it really, like you said, it makes football fun for you. I don't seem, I've talked to a lot of guys over the years, and I haven't seen many approaches like that where people focus on it being fun. Has it always been that way for you, or is it something that you realize at some point and like, hey, I got to look at it this way because otherwise it's going to be a real slog for me as I go forward?
Yeah. My whole thing with having fun, I mean, I think there's a lot of different definitions of fun. My definition of fun is being fully present in the present moment, in the now. And so when I'm able to do that while learning, that is like my top thing, because I love learning, whether it's, learning a playbook, learning somebody new and, creating a relationship with a new friend, whether it's learning a new language or a new term in finance, whatever it is. I really enjoy learning. I think that's the goal of life. I always try to learn. I always read every single night. And that's a big thing, is I want to keep on improving like I have every single year in college football.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is you keep learning, and you're never on the journey of, oh, I'm complacent, I've learned enough.
Yeah.
I know I have still a huge way and long way to go. So the more that I can learn, the better.
You said you read every single night. What are you reading these days?
So I read a couple books. A book that was recommended to me by our center, Mind Gym, by Pat Coogan. Not by Pat Coogan, but Pat Coogan, our center.
Yeah.
to me. And then I'm also right now, this current moment, I'm reading a book, What You're Made For, by George Raveling. And it's a great book. He was one of Michael Jordan's mentors, and he always talks about in his book reading and the never ending journey of learning. And I think that, through doing research, to having a lot of, to try to read more. It's not like I'm the perfect reader. It's not like I'm reading an hour every night, just like 10 minutes before I go to bed, but just kind of have that stoic approach of learning, being in the present moment, and really enjoying life for what it is has been really special to me. It's really helped my football career a lot.
Are the Stoics something you follow, like Marcus Aurelius? Or are you do you read up on those guys? It sounds like you have a Stoic approach to things.
I would love to sit here and lie to you on the podcast and try to be super smart. Like, yeah, I read Marcus Aurelius, and all the other great philosophers. But I will say that I can't really understand. Like, I'm not going to do the research as far as like reading the actual text. But I do follow people like Ryan Holiday, who really do take a Stoic approach and translate it to the normal and average person that wants to learn about Stoicism. So, I've read some of his books, and, I follow people like that. Not so much on social media, but just follow their sayings, and I'll write something down on my whiteboard. I have a big whiteboard on my board. I'll switch up the quotes, and just a kind of a way to live, and more of a mantra to live that day, focus on to kind of get some more tools in my tool shed.
Sure. Okay. I want to go back now to your early days a bit. When did you first realize you could throw better than most of the other kids?
Yeah. Are we talking
like
young?
Yeah. Like when every kid goes out there and plays sports, and at some point they're like, oh, this guy can really throw it. He's the quarterback, or he's the pitcher, or he's, whatever. Like, was this really early for you, or was it something that developed later on?
It was something that developed. When I first played football, I was the third string quarterback, second string tight end, and I was the second string defensive end. I was always trying to get on the field. And what I really thought, and looking back on videos of my youth football, evidently youth football players, now they're insane. It's great, the specialization that goes into youth sports nowadays. But I thought I was a lot better than I actually was. And I think that's the unwavering belief and confidence that my parents instilled in me. They're like, hey, Fernando, you got it. You keep on working in the backyard, keep on throwing to the net. Because I would just have a net in his backyard, and I'd throw with my dad and my little brother, which is great. Research, I have a little brother who also plays quarterback. Whenever I was like in 5th and 6th grade, hey, just keep on throwing to Alberto, keep on getting better. And to see that development, and to see that I actually was pretty I was kind of a liability out there. I was not very good at football,
Yeah.
but to see that my parents really instilled that unwavering belief, like, hey, like, I'm going to be the best quarterback. I can throw the ball really well. I think it's really helped myself as a stepping stone in order to take that jump and take that development that I wanted in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently, through the hard work and work ethic, which my parents have instilled in me, and a great support system that has also instilled in me, I've been able to get, a little bit better every single year. And that's my thing.
Yeah.
I was better at throwing in 7th grade than I was in 6th grade, then in 8th grade, and then in 9th grade. And after 9th grade, I want to have my breakout year in 10th grade. And then after, I want to have a breakout year every single year.
Yeah.
And I think that's just never ending journey of learning and just enjoying the process.
So incremental improvement can take you a long way over time, right?
It does. Yeah.
Was there a point when
Still a long way to go, by the way. So.
Was there a point when you said, football might actually take me somewhere? I can actually do something with this thing.
Yeah. So football was always very fun to me. And by fun, as I got a lot of satisfaction off of it, it wasn't as fun it's not like little dopamine hits of like playing a video game fun.
Sure.
But it's more a satisfaction of being with the team, working towards a common goal to try to, take down the enemy and to try to score as many points as possible. And that camaraderie that you're going to suffer sometimes, you're going to have a heart-aching defeat, and sometimes you're going to have a glorious victory.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the point that I was really like, wow, I can make something of football was my junior year after we won the COVID state championship. And at that point I was like, okay, like I can really get recruited, because I was going to these college camps. I'd always go to the University of Miami camp because I lived 5 minutes away from there.
Yeah.
And I would just go because my parents sent me. There was like a little summer camp.
Sure.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Other kids treated as a prospect camp. I was like, oh, great. Like, I get to throw the ball from 8 to 4, and then I'll go back home and, make a sandwich and watch some TV. But at that point I was like, oh, wow, like I can really go somewhere. And when COVID hit, I didn't really have a good feel of where I was. I would see all these kids on social media be like, this kid's committed here, he's committed here. I'm like, wow, these kids are really, really good, like good for them.
Yeah.
I went high step against them. And then after COVID kind of dwindled down, going into my senior year, I started going to these camps, starting to go to the Elite 11 regionals, not the finals, the regionals.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like I stack up really well against a lot of these kids. And I could throw the ball, if not as well, if not a little better than some of these kids. So I can actually go. And then that summer, I got my first committable offer to Yale. At that point, I'm like, great, what a fantastic opportunity. I'm going to go to Yale and get a great education. And this is the great opportunity that football has blessed me with.
Mm-hmm.
Started to end up going on. We had a senior year. We lost the state semifinals. Still a great journey with my brothers. And then after that, God blessed me. And the University of California, Berkeley, offered me a full scholarship.
Yeah.
While other schools were deciding whether they should take me as a walk-on or not, they offered me a full scholarship at a Power 4 school, and that was an opportunity that I could not resist, and I'm still indebted for the rest of my life.
I heard a rumor that Alabama offered you as a preferred walk-on. Is that true?
Yeah, so there's a guy named Alex Mortensen, who I believe is the coach at UAB right now. I can't. If I misspoke, then I apologize about that. It's just really hard to keep up with the crazy college football nowadays. But sorry, he offered me a preferred walk-on. At the end, at this point, I would have been offered by Berkeley, but at this point, it was a great opportunity, and it's been pretty funny because I know, the Heisman Trophy is in the background. It would have been funny because Ty Simpson would have been the scholarship quarterback in the grade, and I would have been the walk-on quarterback in that grade. So and we watched a lot of Ty Simpson film here because we have similar. We played Wisconsin this past weekend, and they played Wisconsin, and he's a great quarterback. And I've seen his interviews; he seems like a great guy. But it's kind of funny, like looking back. My friends joke about it. They were like, "Hey, like you would have been the scholarship, you would have been the walk on, and stuff like that." So,
well, Ty Simpson might have had to transfer somewhere. So, it's been talked a lot about. It's been talked a lot about this now, about how you were a 2-star recruit coming out of Columbus High. I checked your high school tape. I saw a lot of the traits you still show to this day. The arm talent, the athleticism was all there. So did the recruiting services just completely blow this one? Or in retrospect, were you still pretty raw? And so maybe, some of that inattention was fair, or was it just they just completely dropped the ball, do you think?
Yeah, I would think that I was a raw prospect.
Yeah.
I was a raw prospect, and I was also coupled with the point of the big recruiting at that point. Now it's getting younger and younger, but the big recruiting was end of 10th grade, sophomore year, and 11th grade, like junior year is a real year that, hey, you get recruited, you get identified by colleges. Certainly, I think they're ranking kids in 8th grade now with all these stars and stuff. But when I was in high school, junior year was the real year. Hey, you're going to get ranked. And that's when that's when we had COVID.
Yeah.
a lot of games canceled. A lot of the recruiting people couldn't go out and see the prospects in person. And so, although I would love to have been a 5-star, I would love to have been invited to the Elite 11 finals and all these other great accomplishments that some of my brothers in the class of 2022 were able to experience. I think it's the beauty of the journey.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of coming up from a 2-star recruit to then going to Cal as, the lowest recruit in the Pac-12 at that point.
Amazing.
And the lowest recruit on my team ranked, and then ended up starting there and then keep on going and keep on going and keep on improving and becoming a raw prospect to a little bit more refined. And I still see myself as a raw prospect. I still see myself as a raw piece of steak, and I need to go and learn how to season it, learn how to cook it. And in order so I can become a ripe, nice, you want
to stay medium rare. You don't want to be well done though. So.
No, not well done. So, I think that at that point, obviously there was a lot of trouble, a lot of people put belief in those services, and those services, I think that they do a good job. However, it's so tough to project the kids' work ethic. And there's so many, at that point, they might be a 4-star, they might be a 5-star. Yeah. I might have been the 2-star.
And you can't look at, and they actually can't evaluate everybody. There's thousands of prospects out there. You're going to miss people.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really tough business. And, maybe at that point, maybe the game that came, I played like a 2-star, but that's the beauty of learning and growing. And evidently I'm going to have the self-belief that, I'm always the best.
Yeah.
No matter what, I know still got to get better, and in that humble approach, but it's at the same point that I have the unwavering confidence and belief in myself as well. So, when I was ranked a 2-star, don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy about it. I was a little pissed. I was like, oh, come on, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. But I was like, wow, what a great goal to work towards, to prove people wrong.
When you did, how did Cal actually find you though? Was it all Bill Musgrave? Did he have his feelers out there, and did he have like his connections out there, and he found out about you? How did that work?
So there was a kid named Justin Martin who's committed to Cal, and at this point, this is when the transporter was really it was getting just like roped in a little bit. It was getting just started. Not a lot of people knew about it. It wasn't the craziness it is today. And he flipped from Cal to UCLA on late signing day or early signing day, and Cal really believed that he was going to go to Cal. And at that point, they were kind of left dumbfounded, like, oh, shoot, like, what do we do? Mm-hmm. And Bill Musgrave, who's the OC and quarterback coach, who, I'm forever indebted to, he was looking for a quarterback. And he, at that point, he's a little bit more old school. The transfer portal was little new. And we had Jack Plummer there, who's quarterback on the Panthers now. Mm-hmm. But at that moment was going to be the start of the next year. And so I guess he was looking for a more developmental guy. And he had his feelers out there, and he came down to Miami, worked out a little bit, and he believed in me. He gave me a shot, and when he offered me a scholarship, I was like, whoa, scholarship? You sure? I didn't say you sure, but I was more like disbelief, because a lot of people would offer me walk-ons, such as, power schools like Alabama. And at that point, I was forever blessed. I knew that I'd take the opportunity and run with it, whether it's getting on campus and getting to that position. I knew I was going to climb my way up the depth chart. And whenever I got that top spot or a chance to play in the game, I was never going to look back and never get subbed out from that point on.
That must have been an amazing feeling to get the offer. You once said, though, that you suffered from some imposter syndrome early on in your college career. Talk about how overcoming that helped you blossom as a quarterback at Cal.
Yeah, I think sports psychology is a huge part of my game and my development. I meet with a sports psychologist, and I think it's not in an essence where it's, hey, my mentality's bad, so let's get it good. It's more, hey, I think my mentality is good. Let's get it to an excellent and elite level. Mm-hmm. You see all these guys, especially such a cerebral position as quarterback, they need it, and they need it to blossom. And I've been able to meet a great sports psychologists and great mentors, not even psychologists, but mentors, mm-hmm. football mentors, former quarterbacks at Berkeley. They were able to help me be like, hey,
Mike Pulaski, right?
Pulaski. Yeah. Mike Pulaski's been huge. I meet with Mike every single week, and he's been a huge instrument in my success. Whether he was thrown it, because me and Mike had a very similar journey. He was a 2-star recruit, mm-hmm. or I don't know, but he was the lowest ranked Pac-12
quarterback. Yeah, he wasn't a big deal. But he had to work his way up and eventually became a great quarterback for them.
Yeah, he got thrown in the fire. So at that point, I'm like, wow, am I ready? And he threw in the fire. He's like, trust me. He's like, Dando, trust me, you're ready. And so to have people around like that and such a great support system and have unwavering confidence in myself, it really helped me go up and beyond in that imposter syndrome. And he's like, hey, if you have imposter syndrome, that means you're doing it right. That means you're not extremely arrogant, like, yeah, I deserve this. This is my thing. It's more of like, hey, like, you've worked hard for this and you care about it.
Yeah.
So to have that, sense of perspective and viewpoint from great mentors like Mike has been to me has been so special. It's really helped me catapult in my career.
Given your intellectual curiosity for these types of things, going to Berkeley, do you think that just the fact that it was Berkeley and the intellectual environment that permeates there, do you think that was a big factor in how you developed it? That specifically Berkeley and specifically that climate around the Bay Area that helped you?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of people are products of their environment. And I think that in Berkeley, I was able to surround myself around a lot of good community and a lot of good people, especially that in Berkeley, you constantly get your ego checked, whether, we just won the big game and I'm feeling myself and I'm like, oh, let's go, great. And the person sitting next to me just got off a TED talk in the morning. So it's like, wow, maybe I'm not that big of a deal as I am. I really got to keep on going and keep on learning. And not only learning and getting better at football, but learning about these skills and attributes that these other fantastic business students, roommates, friends all around Berkeley, they're attributing to their success in their respective field.
Mhm.
And I think that's really helped me to take a multifaceted approach, not just a one-way shot. It's a kind of take all these different, advice, some that I've taken, some that I've like, I don't know if that applies to me.
Mhm.
And to really have that, opportunity to talk to so many intellectual minds and so many, amazing people. And it's also been here the same in Indiana. When I got here in Indiana, I've been able to learn so much from the leadership of Coach Signetti, all the offensive coaches, and also great leaders on our team like Pat Coogan, who was at Notre Dame last year, who's had a lot of great leadership lessons. Aiden Fisher, who's an All-American linebacker last year, and he's the captain of that defense. There's a lot of guys I've been able to learn from. And so it's not just football and Berkeley. I was able to learn from a lot of different sources of success.
Mhm.
And then it's only been amplified ever since I've got to Indiana.
I know you don't like to talk about the Heisman too much, but we are on the Heisman Trophy podcast, and we are getting toward the end of the season. And let me tell you, between the Heisman and the college football playoff, you are about to go through a media crucible. It seems like you're very comfortable talking to people. Are you planning on just riding the wave and having fun with it, or do you have like a plan for dealing with these things?
Yeah. As I mentioned previously in the podcast, my whole thing is in the present moment. Right now, all my attention is towards the Heisman podcast right now that I'm on. And I think that's great. You enjoy it. I think looking ahead can give, people a false sense of hope and a false sense of security. And maybe everyone always wants to talk about the future, the what ifs.
Mm.
And to live like that is such a tough ask because you never know what's going to happen. You never know, and you can't control a lot of those things. So my whole thing is right now I'm focused on, the Heisman podcast and having a great bye week. I'm focused on, although we beat Wisconsin, there's things that I can take from that film and work in order to become a better quarterback, a better Fernando Mendoza that I'm going to be to play Purdue next week.
Right.
So right now I'm really just focused on the bye week and focused on Purdue because they're a great football team. And that's all I put all my focus towards right now.
Well,
But I be a good and pressure and the media, it's a privilege. So I'm really honored to have, the attention right now. And I'm just extremely blessed and, give all the glory to God always. But right now I'm just trying to focus on the present moment and just enjoy the time with my brothers.
Understandable. The Hoosiers have had one Heisman finalist. That was running back Anthony Thompson back in 1989. Do you have any memories of Heisman winners growing up? Any players who caught your eye to sort of, give you some motivation?
Yes. So my dad went to medical school at UF, and we actually, the roommates have we have a house here in Bloomington, and we have a Christmas tree, and there's a picture of Christmas of myself in a Tim Tebow jersey. UF, and I was honestly, it was kind of a bandwagon. I was like UF and UM fan at that young of an age. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't realize you couldn't like both teams.
Yeah.
Oh, at that point, I had a Tim Tebow jersey, and so Tim Tebow's been, huge inspiration not only on the field, but I would say off the field, as how he's always giving the glory to God. All celebrations were always him kneeling has really set the foundation for myself being a part of a Catholic family, and that's a good role model to look up to. In more recent years, Joe Burrow. My brother's a huge Joe Burrow fan. I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan. The way that he's played and operated that system with Joe Brady was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, who doesn't love Money Manziel either? So also, Heisman's are such a profound point of the football community, and you can't really miss one. And it's such an honor to even be mentioned in the conversation. And I just can't wait to, enjoy the present moment and, and just and ride the wave as it goes.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a few rapid fire questions, get you out of here. When you're not thinking about football, what occupies your mind?
Friends. Where are you gonna go out to? Where are we gonna go out to eat in Bloomington tonight?
Where are you going to go out to eat? Usually.
I mean, we go to a lot of places. We go. There's a lot of good local spots here, and I think it's just a camaraderie that we have with our teammates. It's a good time, especially here with whether we're eating with offensive linemen, whether we're eating in a mixed group with some defensive players, whether eating with just us roommates. Always good to have that camaraderie, and after practice, go get a bite to eat and just talk about the week, talk about the NFL, and just have a good time.
You guys go check out the Hoosiers basketball yet?
Yeah, we need to do that. And Outer Bye Week, I would love it. I'm definitely planning on going to a game this week. That is actually, thank you for reminding me. That is
No problem.
when we played. The first game was after the Penn State game. It was Marquette, which is Indiana basketball, a fantastic victory. And so definitely going to try to check out one of the games this week.
You got a BA in business administration from UC Berkeley, already graduated. What intrigues you about the business world?
Of how multifaceted it is. Getting a business degree, especially, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but I know exactly what I want to do. With that business administration, the mentors that I made in Berkeley, I believe that I'm able to go in the real estate field, the finance field, or whatever other field. A startup like we talked about, whatever field takes my passion after my football career. However, right now I'm focused on football, and that business administration degree has helped me so much as I've taken leadership courses in the business school there at Haas. And there's been so many lessons like we've talked about that I've learned from classmates, that I've learned from my peers, that I'm able to implement in my football journey.
What's your favorite pregame hype song, if any?
Yeah, so a big thing with myself, especially quarterback being such a cerebral position, is I actually do not enjoy listening to music before the game. I love music, just not right before the game, because I need to be in a cool, calm state where I'm committed to the next play. And I'm committed in this play, the best play possible, and execute it the best of my ability. So before every game, I meditate and I listen to online mass.
All right. Well, who's your dream dinner guest, past or present?
Ooh. There's a lot of past that I'm definitely going to forget about. And, I don't want to, so I'm just going to keep it to the present.
Okay.
The present, I would say my dream dinner guest is Tom Brady. He's someone that I've looked up to my entire life. And I really not only love his play on the field, but his resilience and the way that he's conducted himself throughout his career. I was actually born in Boston, lived there 1 year for my dad when he was in medical residency up there. And he's been a special role model for myself and a special, idol. My role model and my idol is my dad and my mom, and I love them to death. Our football role model to follow is always Tom Brady, as he's had such a resilience. And that's a thing that I think the Hoosiers have shown great this season. Whether it's Iowa, Oregon, or Penn State, resilience has always shown up. And that's something that I do attribute to watching Tom Brady growing up.
What would you ask him if you had a chance to meet him?
I don't want to quick fire any questions right now. However, I would need to think about it because, he is such a busy guy. I mean, he's broadcasting, one of the best broadcasters in the games. He's the owner of the Raiders. And there's so many different, things that he's doing. He's also a great family man as well. So I'm sure, the time that I have with him, or that if I were to have with him in this theoretical scenario, I want to ask him a really profound question. But it would definitely be, I would definitely love any advice.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Do you have any superstitions on or off the field?
Wow. I try to keep the superstitions to a minimum because, they're not a controllable. However, I'd be lying to you if I didn't. I always, text my parents and my family group chat, I love you guys before the game. I always pray the rosary every Friday with some of my teammates at church. I would say that I always, we have a win sign here, tap it 3 times on the right before the game, like on the first half, tap it on the left time 3 times. And then also never step on the seal. That's something I learned in Berkeley, that, hey, very academic prowess university, hey, don't step on the seal because you're going to fail your finals.
Right.
So after that, I try not to step on the seal. Evidently, you're going to step through the IU logo sometimes in the weight room and stuff like that, but on the actual seal, you never step.
Well, rituals are an important part of life, so.
Yeah. Also, shower before the day of the game.
Okay.
Go try the game. Yeah.
Okay. I saw you used to have a podcast. I listened to a little bit of it. If you were starting a podcast now, what would you talk about?
Yeah, that podcast, it was a great experience in high school. We were kids in COVID, locked at home. We wanted to do something, try to do something productive. It was a podcast. It was more of a community-based podcast. And then it kind of turned into hey, let's just have fun and talk to it. And, we were able to, say some things, and it was nice, but it wasn't a huge effort. But it was today, honestly, the big thing about podcasting and why I love to listen to podcasts so much is get to learn other people's opinions. So my big thing is I don't want to have a lot of guests on there. Joe Rogan does. I think Joe Rogan does a fantastic job of interviewing guests, getting them to tell their stories, making them feel comfortable in a sense where they can tell their life experiences, and the viewers, they'll get Joe Rogan throughout the 500 or 1,000 episodes, and they'll get to know him, they'll get to love him. However, they'll really get to know the guest in their specific episode and be able to learn from them. And similar how we've talked about learning through my peers, my classmates, my football mentors, through my football coaches, through my teammates, through my parents. It's all about, learning. I think it'd be fantastic to have a podcast and have a lot of guests on there.
Who's an interesting teammate that people don't know about that you wish you could introduce the world to, or that you wish people would know more about?
Interesting as far as just
personality, humor, something they do that's people don't know about.
Yeah, I would say we have a great group of guys here on the team. We have a great group of guys on the team here, and I would say, a couple. I'm just going to name a couple guys. I would say that Grant Wilson, he's the quarterback. He's helped me so much, and everybody, a lot of people know Alberto, my brother, but Grant has been a huge help in my technique, and help instill a lot of the things here in the quarterback room. Say James Bomba, he's been here for 6 years, tight end. I would say another guy, Bryson Bonds, on the defensive side. He got injured early in the year, but he's a fantastic player and even a better teammate. And I'm just trying to think of guys that people would not know, or not know, like people know them, but not like on the mainstream media. Man, there's a lot of there's a guy, Lincoln Murph, always giving his best in scouting. Like, it gives me a ton of issues. So, there's really a lot of guys that, I've really, and honestly, everyone should know the whole O-line room. I love the whole O-line room. Yeah. Just putting it out there. All right. The O-line, those are my guys.
Who's a teammate who's much better than people think or understand? Like, who's gonna blow up next year, do you think?
Oh, in college or in the NFL? Because I would say,
in college. Like, who's a teammate that's there on the Hoosiers right now who is gonna be a great player?
I'm going to speak from the offense side. We have a lot of players who are going to have on the defense side that are going to break out. However, I'm just focused on the offense, and so I understand what we're trying to get done as far as game plan. So I know, I think I have a good idea, better idea of who's going to can go blow up. But I would say two guys for sure is Charlie Becker. He's one of my roommates. He's had fantastic games, and he's a fantastic receiver.
He had a great game last week, huh?
Great game last week. Yeah, he had a great touchdown catch. He had a great deep ball post catch as well, and he had a ton of other catches. So he's a really good hands, really reliable, explosive, really fast. I think that he's going to be a lot better than a lot of people think. And I think Alberto Mendoza, I always say it, and people are like, oh, he's saying it because he's brother. Like, generally, if I were to show the world the spring ball footage and fall camp footage, you would think Alberto's the starting quarterback and I'm the backup. This kid is going to be really good. His processing speed, his feel of the game is unbelievable. And that's something that I've helped a lot, that he's helped me a lot with, and that's helped me develop a lot throughout. And then I would say two players that are playing right now that don't get enough credit is Pat Coogan. Without Pat Coogan and the entire O-line, but how Pat Coogan is so smart. I don't know if he's missed a call this entire year of meaning like the right identification. And I think that's why our run game, coupled with our running backs talent, but our run game and just, he is such a smart guy. It's really helped us, and we would not be 11-0 without Pat Coogan. And also, I would say Aiden Fisher on defense, the way that he commands that defense is really special.
What's a talent you have that few people know about?
Ooh, a talent. If we're going to, I'm just going to put the question like this way. If we're going to go on a talent show, what would I do?
Yeah.
Oof. Man, this is a tough question.
Or what do you secretly think you're good at that you just don't really put out there?
Well, I think I'm really good at the game pickleball. I really think I'm good at the game pickleball. Oh, I think I'm really good at ping pong.
Ping pong.
That's what I think I'm really good at. We get really competitive here in the locker room about ping pong, and I think it's a great way to nurture competition here. We play against the strength staff. We play against the teammates. We even play doubles ping pong most of the time, so it gets really competitive, and I think I'm the best ping pong player on the team. That's just me. That it can be controversy if you ask one of my teammates, but I think I'm really good at ping pong.
All right, we'll let you deal with the repercussions of that statement later. Finally, Fernando, you've been involved in a lot of causes throughout your career, and one in particular you were involved in is the fight against multiple sclerosis, inspired by your mom's ordeal with the disease. You partnered with a restaurant in Berkeley. Now you're doing the same in Bloomington. Tell our listeners about that and how they can contribute to this worthy cause.
Yes. So my mom has a fight against multiple sclerosis. And my mom is my light, my inspiration. my everything. I probably talk to her about 5 times a day, and she's the only reason that I've actually gone this far in my football journey. To see her optimistic and positive approach with all that she's battling has given myself no excuse for any complacency throughout my life, whether it's academics or football or just being a good character and good person. And, to see her fight and see her, struggle and then get better is also, it's been so inspiring to myself. And, there's a lot of people that I've known that have come up to me that, some of their family members also fight with multiple sclerosis. It's something that is very dear to my brother and my family. And there's a page on the National MS Society that you're able to donate to the awareness and research of it, of the general cause for everybody. And the society really just helps people who, for research and people who can't afford treatments to go and to help their multiple sclerosis. And we're still trying to find a cure. There's no cure at the moment. However, very positive and praying every day that it gets better. So that's something that's very dear to my brothers and my heart. And that's my why. That's why I play football. It's for my mom.
You've raised thousands so far. You can go to Fernando's Instagram page and find the link from there. Fernando Mendoza, thanks again for coming on the Heisman Trophy Podcast. Congrats on a great season. It's been so fun talking to you. Thanks for, pouring out your heart on a lot of things. Enjoy your bye week, take a rest, and we look forward to seeing you in New York City.
Thanks so much, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys again. God bless. Go Hoosiers.
That was Fernando Mendoza, Indiana Hoosiers quarterback. He's got his team rolling, heading to the playoffs. He could be heading to New York, too. If you're here for the first time, please like, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friend about the Heisman Trophy Podcast. For video versions of the show, head over to our YouTube channel. You can see clips of us also on our TikTok channel. There's going to be all kinds of great content coming up as we get closer to Heisman weekend. Next week, Ty Simpson of Alabama is scheduled. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you then. The Heisman Trophy Podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. The pod is available on all streaming networks, including Spotify and Apple Music, and features video interviews and bonus content on YouTube and TikTok. We also have a Reddit community. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to Rob Whalen, Tim Henning, and the Heisman Trust for their support. Reach out to us via email at pod@heisman.com for feedback and commentary.